does that challenge you as actors, how you portray these characters? Because you're dealing with two different threats in this season.
I think it's a much easier assignment to imagine the fear of what's outside because we experience it in real life. You know what I mean? It's, walking down the street and feeling that you're making other people feel uncomfortable because you're black. That's something that I've experienced before. So playing it on screen, I mean, that's easy homework right there.
It's like, yeah, you've been treated like you're the entity when in reality you're the one fighting for your life. And there's some kind of warped reality going on that we've all just kind of accepted to be on Earth in this country, I guess. Um, but it does inform something incredibly rich that you've got like for me, I'm like, I'm a woman. It's 1962. I mean, my grandmother was probably my age in 1962. And I considered her walking through the world and what that looked like. Segregation, having opinions, being a woman who wanted to have a voice, but in that time, it's like just and even just the considering of like how one dresses, being kind of buttoned up and the brasiers that are pointy and like what that does to one's body and the carefulness of the articulation of how one speaks. On top of the fact that we have this entity that's literally haunting our town, but my character, Charlotte, knows that something is just not right. Something's not right in this country, something's not right in this fucked up town, something's not right. And that kind of warped reality and her being women back then, all women were looked at as so hysterically, like you're just hysterical, you
Hmm.
know. Um,
But that's why I mess with Charlotte. I mess with Charlotte though, because when the little boy was in the street and they just beating on like y'all
you
just
feel me?
y'all gonna
It's
let my
always
man
a
beat
black
me?
woman, isn't it? It's always a black woman that's like, do you guys see?
Y'all don't see him getting beat, and then he gonna
That's
run away. I was like,
crazy.
you not gonna say thank you? Like,
I know. Thank you. Manners.
I'm just saying.
Charlotte's over here sweating out her little curl, her little curls, about to lose her hat.
Had her running
And
in
this
heels. She was running
running in
in heels.
heels. Running in heels.
The disrespect. We won't allow it. Then Jovan, your
Crazy.
character, like, don't get too hyped up now. You remember what happened last time?
Right? You see how it's crazy. And it's like, yeah, she's like screaming inside. Screaming inside.
And I'm like, come on, baby,
She's like, please don't start
can
this.
I have some more iced tea, please? Can I have some more iced tea?
The iced tea's in the fridge. Who wants iced tea in a time like this?
Oh, this
I'm just saying. I mean, I know the iced tea probably slept though. I mean, I know it's hot outside. I'm just
nobody
saying.
makes it like Charlotte makes it.
Charlotte was cooking. Charlotte
Charlotte
was
was
saving the babies. She was
She
saving
put
saving
her
the
it.
hips
people
into
out of
that,
prison.
okay?
I mean,
You know?
you gotta give Charlotte more credit, okay? I'm just
Thank you. You know
period.
what? Thank
Okay,
you. It's always thank you.
I
Thank
see you.
you,
I see
sis.
you. Okay.
I know you see me because I see you.
Hey, no, that pot roast was looking good though. I was real hungry. I was like, do I need to learn how to make a pot roast? Do I need to do that?
Let me give you some of that pot roast.
Those eating days were funny.
Yeah, they were. The dinner scenes were a lot of fun to shoot, for sure.
But I think also too, Jovan, you have to play a character that doesn't have fear, which I would think that would be something really great to navigate the world without truly having fear. But
Uh-huh.
it's almost like he still has to be like, okay, I know this isn't normal, so let me try to be normal. You see these in the moments with his son a lot too. So how is it
Yeah.
training someone like that?
Well, it's a bit tricky because there's a conversation I had with Andy early on where in a world that's heavily based on fear, that's what this story is all about. How do you play someone who struggles to connect with fear and it not come off as boring? And I think the conversation ended up getting into a place of he's not without fear. He just has a stronger threshold for it. I think
But you played that incredibly nuanced. It was super complex
it was thank
because
you. And
there's a lot to be afraid
of
of.
course, and I
But
think
for you specifically, there's a lot on the line, you know?
yeah, but that's the thing. It's not so much about like jump scare fear or things like
No, it's like the
I don't
real
think
fear that keeps your ass up at night where you're like, fuck, how am I gonna do this?
it's the fear. I think his fear would be like the fear of failure,
Hmm.
and failure is a lot for him because it's not just like his career fear failure. Because
Well,
if he
isn't
fails in
it
his career,
default for men?
yeah, but it's for him, especially somebody who has a family, if he his fear of failing in his work life is a direct effect of what's going to happen to him being able to take care of his family. I think that's what Leroy's afraid of the most. Just to answer what you said before, that you see that a lot in my interaction with Will, is because other than my wife, our son is my everything. So if something happens to him, that's what I'm afraid of. Because if something happens to him, that's a direct reflection on my lack of being able to protect him and protect her. So that's to answer your question shorter. To play his fear was to play, like you said, the more practical thing. Not so much about a scary monster that I might see. He's been to war. He's killed people before. He's none of that is new to him, but putting his loved ones in danger was the fear.
Isn't that the paradox of being a man, though? Because like there's these things are man-made, not the entity, obviously. I'm going a little bit, wide with it, but the paradox of man is like there's man-made problems that we now have to fix that are almost unsolvable. And I feel like women would just be like, let's just not do that.
And Charlie be trying to talk to him, be like, honey, I can tell you stress. I can tell your work stresses you.
Let me
Let's
give you a
talk about it.
massage.
You don't
Yeah,
know
let's
what
talk
talk
about
about it.
it.
You don't
Exactly.
want to talk. I can tell
Like
you
lay
about
down
my
on
work.
the bed, sugar.
I got
Exactly.
work to do, damn it.
Yeah, and men are like, men are just like, I'm just so stressed. How am I supposed to lay down right now? And you're like, it would
Tell me
make
to
so
lay
much
down.
sense to lay down
Yeah.
and then worry about it anyways.
I'm just saying he just taking his wife for granted. Just you got somebody right there that can just baby talk to me.
Listen, I'm just playing a character, okay? I'm not Leroy in real life. This is not real. My name is Jovan.
That is so funny.
He said, y'all, he's up
To
on
learn
me.
a
He's
thing
up
or
on me.
two.
I'm saying. But I wanna know for y'all because I like that Charlotte has her voice and Jovan, I like for your character, like he's reserved, but when things need to be said, like he knows when he can do that. I want to know for both of you being in this industry, what was that first time or that first project when you learned that you can speak up for yourself, that you can have agency
Oh,
for yourself?
that's a beautiful
I would say
question.
I would say my first film, Fences, and just watching how Denzel carried himself, which was fearless and not, never disrespectful, but also not afraid to speak up if somebody does something to you that you're not appreciative of. That was the first, especially being like black in the industry as well. It's like, you know, it doesn't give you license to mistreat or mishandle the way that I do my job. Yeah. Seeing that was something that, informed a lot of my behavior and how I navigate the business.
It's funny how when we trail off like da 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 da.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think as a woman, I'm a work in progress with it because being a woman, being a black woman, you don't want to be difficult. You don't want to hold up production. You don't want your hair to be difficult. You don't want anything. You want it to be as easy and as easeful as possible. But I have noticed as I've gotten older, I become more embodied in my yes. And if it's not a direct, like if it's not a yes, then it's just no. And the no, the less explaining with the no, just like no, that's
No.
not cool.
Wow.
There's so much power in that, and it's actually not rude, which is something I used to be so afraid of. That was like, kind of the way that I built myself was just like that was my, I guess you could say a little bit of a trauma response of being like, no, because and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, fine. And now it's like now when I say yes, like I really mean it. And that's such a I would love to offer my yes and I would love to offer my no. And in the end, why do we betray ourselves? You betray yourself for nothing.
Okay.
It becomes it waters down your field. And then people don't get the best of you. So,
So we're gonna say yes when we mean it and no
and
when we
know
don't
when
have
we
a gut
mean,
feeling of yes. Okay.
yeah,
And we're gonna
exactly.
ease up on Jovan because it's just a character. That's not
It's a
that's not
character.
the person.
It's a character. I'm very comfortable in myself. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what Leroy talking about.
Sensitive, your sisters.
Yeah, I do.
He's a good man.
Yeah.
How do you both of you like address those characters that are dealing with the supernatural of what's happening in Derry, but they also have their everyday fears that they have to deal with?
I think one's a little bit more controllable, although you can't control racism. At least you know what it looks like.
It's familiar.
Yeah, it's familiar. The other one, I mean, for Hank, he's helpless. I mean, just I think, period. I think that's more universal. I don't. He doesn't have a superpower, although I guess you would say love is a superpower. But sometimes you don't what you think you don't know, or what you don't know. He doesn't know that. What he does know is that he has a obligation and a responsibility to those he loves to make sure, however, he stays alive to make that happen. And so I think that's Hank.
I mean, love kind of got him in trouble too, though. It's his
Yeah,
superpower and it's his
but
little.
it kept him alive.
They
It kept
did
him
keep him
alive. It kept
alive.
him
That's
alive.
right. Yeah. I know you. You're a little troublemaker.
What? Who, me?
Yeah.
Never. How about you?
You're gonna have to repeat that question. That question was asked 25 minutes ago. It took that long. I don't know what you said. I don't remember the question. What was the
This
question?
is our relationship, so don't worry about this.
But you know what? You know what? I'm gonna rephrase it because I don't know if your character deals with the same thing because he already knows kind of sort of the supernatural aspect of it, but
Mhm.
he also gets a little privilege. He has a little
I
privilege.
think, yeah, I think one of the cool things we see about Dick is one black dude who can talk trash to a three-star general and not worry about it. And really, like, he really does abuse it a lot. But then we see reality strike. As it's taken away, he just becomes a regular dude who's opened up, who's given all of this stuff that, like you said, his grandma told him not to give. And then he's just a mess, you know? Did that answer a question?
It
So
did answer the question. You
yeah.
answer it.
Yeah, it
You
answered.
answered
Yeah.
it.
No, yeah,
I was
absolutely.
locked in. You
I'm
don't want me to be
amazing.
locked in? I was
Yeah.
listening.
Yeah, I do want you to be locked in.
But I mean, also too, I think that I love how, with Hank, he really loves his family. And I
Mhm.
really love that we get to see somebody who is a girl dad, who has the responsibilities. Okay, see? Of the responsibility of making sure that his daughter wants for nothing, but also too, he's also trying to establish and navigate his own life at the same time. I want you to talk about the balance of playing a character like that, especially given
Mhm.
the predicament he's in.
I also am a girl dad. She's a little person. I mean, she ain't little, but she's little. She's young. And so in a lot of ways, it was a huge blessing because when we were filming this, I was just getting started.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We
She had turned
celebrated.
one.
Yeah, we
We all
celebrated the
celebrated
first
her
birthday
first
together.
birthday
Yeah, yeah.
in Toronto. And so Hank allowed me to really start to explore these feelings that I was starting to have with my own daughter. I mean, it's one of those things where I think as a mother, mothers love their children from the moment they're conceived, versus as a man, you don't have that. So, it takes time. It took me time. Be like, yo, you love me, right? I know you love me, but am I your number one? Maybe not number one. I became a
Number
strong
two,
number
baby.
two.
You
I'm
number
a
two.
strong number two. But even the responsibility of being there, of showing up. And I think that's what he's struggling with because he shows up and then that being taken away from him.
Yeah.
Sometimes showing up is a lot. It's enough. Just showing up and saying, I'm here.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
As two people whose dads did not show up,
Absolutely.
it's a big deal. Just showing
Just showing up.
is not to be underplayed.
Absolutely. And he shows up and shows out.
Okay. I mean, he was showing out. Just saying. Just in a different way. Stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I want to know for portraying Dick, because Dick is a character that shows up in other novels as well. I want to know for you, how is it portraying a character that you know is beloved, like in this universe, but putting your own twist to it?
I to be able to play a character that is already beloved, it's already easy. It's great. It's a gift because he already exists and he already has fans. So like there's going to be strong opinions either way. So I'm not originating a thing. I'm originating this part of his life and that's a lot of my own work, but like it's nice when something we get to come into it, we get to fold into a network that's established on a show that's already been established two, three times over. So it's affirming, it's I felt incredibly supported because they already trust the material, and obviously they hired us, so they trust us. And it was super duper fun. I say super duper even.
Even the first day when we all got together, Barbara and Andy went out their way and they were like, "We want you all to know that we got all of our number one choices."
Oh, what a sweet thing to say.
You know?
Yeah.
And that even that right there is small, but it just makes you feel like, okay.
Even if it's not true, it's a smart thing to say. No, seriously, all of our confidence was like, yeah, we were the first choice.
Yeah, absolutely. But at least you're like, okay.
They didn't call Denzel first.
Yeah, I mean,
There we go.
and then a year later, you're like, oh, they did call it.
Yeah. He was my first choice after our other first choices.
That's right.
Look, they only gave us the first 5 episodes. So if y'all know somebody that knows somebody and they want to run me the other episodes, please feel free to drop it in my account. But if you could describe it, amp me up for the 6, 7 episode. I want to know like how we feeling.
I would say November, anywhere between mid-November to December is all I can give you, which is when they come out.
You're so funny. I was going to do a similar thing. I was going to say, I know who can hook you up. HBO on Sunday nights.
Wow.
They can tell you everything about.
That's my man.
But I can tell you the truth is, it gets the beauty of having such a long format and for it to have been taken such great care of is it gets deeper and scarier as we go. So whatever you're experiencing watching those first 5, deeper, scarier, more specific.
Yes. The envelope is being pushed.
But you gotta watch it. I'm not gonna give you like, I need this view. We need these views.
Let me try and get all that information and then you're not gonna watch it?
I'm asking for the information so I can get everybody to watch it. See?
No, just tell them to watch it off GP.
Okay, but off GP, you could have read me them other episodes.
Yeah, but off GP, they gonna watch it because you.
I got y'all. I'm gonna do my part. Okay, I'm gonna do my part.
Okay.
But I love this whole idea, especially the difference between both your characters, because I feel like Dick has a voice, but Hank really doesn't have a voice because he can't fully tell the truth for the fear of consequence. So I want to know, for the both of you being in this industry, what was a project where you first learned to have agency and use your voice?
I love this question.
Go ahead, you start.
Okay, so when I coach, I teach acting. And so it's funny because now it's like, oh, none of those things really apply anymore because there was a bigger barrier of entry when we first started because there wasn't as much TV.
No TV,
yeah. What was the question?
In terms of like agency.
The first time you
okay. First time, I do it a lot. I really think it's important because now I'm like, a middle-aged man, which is funny to say out loud, but that leaves people to look up to me on set. And like, if I'm not protecting myself and my cast, who will is a responsibility I love to take. The first time ever, Nurse Jackie. I remember this. I had this recurring guest star role. I was so broke, so I was so grateful for the job. And I remember one day I had been shooting, there's a couple episodes. Occasionally it's like over there, or I'm pushing a gurney. Man, I was getting paid as far as I was concerned. And then one day, I don't know why, but one of the camera operators grabbed me by the shoulder and just kind of moved me. And I said, hey, my man, don't ever do that again. I'm a human being. I have a name. If you ask me to do it, I'll happily do it. Now, they fired me. I never worked again. I never worked for Nurse Jackie again. But I was also okay with that because I was like, I'm not going to do anything. I was displaced most of my childhood. I'm not going to do that as an adult. But that was the first time I got to actually, and all I was doing was saying, hey, do me a favor. Don't be grabbing on me, bro. But even that, especially when I was coming up in this industry, it's a big deal to say to anybody, I have rights, I have boundaries. And so, but that was my first practice of going, I don't need this job, bro.
I think, it's one of those things I feel like in theater, especially when you work with older actors.
All the time.
Those are the ones they typically are the ones that put you on. So you learn how much space you have, or at least I did, by watching them. And so agencies, it's a 3-dimensional word. Like when I first started, maybe it was this much. On this type of show, it's more, but it's also because we had comrades. Like we really became not just friends, we became family. And so I could ask Jovan, I could ask Chris, I could talk to Taylor, we could talk to each other
Yeah.
and see how much space I
And
have.
how everybody's feeling.
Yeah, and exactly. So like it's something that I think it's improvisational. It's something you have to, every set's very different and everything you work on is different. And for this, the fact that we were on this huge show, or filming this huge show, but to be able to be on it with a community, with the kids, with everybody, I think I found a lot more agency in that,
And I
a lot
think
more space, even as you can see it, I think.
as we embrace these kids like a lot. And it's super important to me that any set I'm on, the kids, if I'm working with children, they don't feel a thing.
That's right.
That they just go and walk through that day and they're just like, it was long, but it was a good time. And so that ended up just my whole philosophy around making kids feel like little mini gods forces me to have agency, because if I see a kid being displaced in any way, unfortunately, I'm going to be the first person to be like, hey, that's inappropriate. Like, this is a baby.
Yeah.
So also working with kids.
No, absolutely. You have more responsibility.
Come
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
Come on.
How does it feel playing two characters who's kind of well aware of the terrifying things that lie within the town compared to the other castmates who just they don't know what's happening yet?
Ooh, great question. That's a great question.
Well, I think the awareness is I'll speak for myself, is to the level of trauma that was experienced. And not everybody, in the cast as a 9-year-old got almost devoured by this creature in the woods. This it was like the skeleton guy. And he was going to kill Francis Shaw because Francis went into the woods, even though Rose said don't go in there. He goes in there and gets almost killed, and she saves him with a slingshot. I don't think you can ever erase that memory, even though he leaves Derry, and as we know, when you leave Derry, memories fade. But it's always there on a subconscious level, and I think it informs every move he makes.
True. It was very interesting for me, Kimberly playing the character, because I would hear other, my friends talking about, well, what does this mean? And what does this mean? And I never would say anything because I knew they don't need to know that.
Right.
I need to know that. Rose knows. Kimberly knows. But they don't need to know that. They need to be able to walk out that experience and meet it from scene to scene to scene. And of course, we're popping around at different episodes doing that as well. And so it was really hard, though, sometimes when they would have these deep questions. Well, what are the rules of this world? And why is this happening? And it's just like, keep your mouth shut, Guerrero, keep your mouth shut, just to allow somebody to have that process as a storyteller. But it also was very empowering for me as an actor and as Rose to be the holder and the keeper of that knowledge as well.
But I think that's why I find both of your characters to actually kind of be the scariest, because they both have like their ulterior motives of what they think is right, what they're doing best, for their situation. But it's almost like, I don't know, do you feel like your characters are willing to put people in danger in an effort to hold your cards close to the vest?
I know mine is, without question. He's been making those decisions for 50 years. I know he's had to send men to die in battle. It's familiar for him, and sometimes you send people into battle and you use them as a diversion. So somebody at the rank of lieutenant general, say, well, we're going to send these guys over as diversionary force, and casualties will be 50%. You can make these kind of cold-hearted decisions. That's not casualties 50%. That's like half your men are going to die. They're people. And to make those kind of decisions, I don't know how someone really does it. I know how I did it as a character, but me personally, I can only have a frame of reference in terms of like, giving some nuts to a squirrel. To, it's a very, very heavy responsibility, and it takes a tremendous separation from, one's own feelings. So I think I'm answering the question over and over again, but yes, I could put people's lives at stake in order to protect my own secrets.
But I
Right.
think
I agree. No, I think I was just going to say that I think that is an incredibly insightful question. incredibly, because that you're talking now deep into the knowledge of what are the vulnerabilities of these characters and how do they deal with those vulnerabilities. Because for Rose, there is no such thing as collateral damage. Every human being deserves my love and my respect and my protection. I don't love the people of Derry any more, any less than I love my community in Indian Marsh. Right? It's like I'm there to try to take care of every. So one life lost is one life too many. And so she's walking around with a lot of this, you have to power through, you have to power through, and I have my own way. That's why I run a secondhand store. This is not in the story, but it is in my backstory, is that the Penobscot, the Wabanaki have a way to bury the dead. And a way to help them release their spirit is to take care of their belongings. And so that's why Rose has a secondhand store, is to take care of the belongings of those who've passed on so that their spirits can make that. That's the best thing I can do for them. For those kids or any individual that's been taken by the creatures, help their spirits release. Because he can eat their bodies, but he cannot eat their spirit.
Okay. Look, but
Come
that's
on.
why I love the nuance that you guys play with your characters because I feel like, with your character, I like how she's kind of like, I'm gonna let them run the town how they see fit, but I really know what's going on and I have this handle behind closed doors. And even with your character, I still feel like even though he's making these kind of cold-hearted decisions, I still feel like you play it with such nuance because you almost feel the weight. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna give you what you want because I really know everything that I'm causing you to sacrifice, even though you might not know it. So I just want to give y'all kudos, okay? Because y'all did that.
Thank you.
Well,
We'll take
I'm
them.
glad that the character appears to be carrying the weight of so many of the young men that he's sent into battle. I believe he feels a tremendous sense of responsibility, and really his ultimate purpose is to have no more of this.
That's right. It's peace.
He really wants peace. He's a very troubled guy. He doesn't just send people into battle for fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's wrenching.
But I think what I find so intriguing about the series and so heartbreaking at the same time is it's almost like you have these characters who think that they're doing something that will at the end be for the good of the people, but it's really the silence and the lack of communication and just these lack of conversations that have really put everyone, including themselves and their loved ones, in danger. So I really wanted you to talk about the importance, especially when we're missing community. I feel like we're just missing that, and this show reminded me of how much community means to people, how it can save people. How does it feel to be a part of the series that really shines a light on how the lack of community can really lead to the danger of the people that inhabit these towns?
Oh, gosh. Well, we're all talking about division these days. And we've been talking about division for a long time. We're a country that had a civil war. One bunch of states says we don't want to be in this country anymore because we want to do things our way. Like I said, no, you got to stay because we're going to do things this way. And people killed each other over it. Bloodiest conflict in American history. So we're talking about division a lot. And somehow at the end of these crazy human things we do, a handful of people come through it together and a bit stronger. I don't want to give anything away, but this show is also very much in that tradition of the human condition. I mean, the Losers Club comes back together, as it were.
And to James's point, the cycles, right? The cycles of violence, the cycles of forgetting, but also hopefully the cycles of remembering. And I hope this series, with all of my heart, is part of that cycle of remembering. Because don't we need this story now more than ever? You
Yeah.
just perfectly, what you said about what was happening in Derry is happening in our neighborhoods right now. It's happening in families right now, not just in America, but all over the world. And there is that spirit of division. So being able to be part of putting a story into the world as medicine, story as sustenance, story as a North Star, story as a let me step back for a minute and look at the world as it is and my place in that world. There's no greater gift to get to be a part, to use our craft and use our experience and our history and our past to get together with a group of storytellers that we love with a story that we love and give it to the global audience, heart by heart, viewer by viewer, saying we are stronger together. We are stronger together. We have more in common than we have that divides us.
What was your favorite scene to film of the season?
Ooh. Oh, you can go, Amanda.
Hey.
Okay. I honestly love filming all the scenes. I mean, there's so many intense scenes throughout this series, but I think my favorite has to be the ending for episode 1, the movie theater scene, because I'm a person that loves like action-packed horror sequences, and there was so much going on in that scene. So getting to, you know, do a lot of action things and ducking under the seats and getting drenched in blood and getting to scream and cry and working on that with Amanda and the other kids, that was honestly a great memory for me, and I think it's a great way to end episode 1.
Episode 1 was really scary, so that was one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Definitely episode 1 too. I agree with Clara. But one of my I kind of have two, but one of my favorite scenes to film was definitely my scare scene, only because it was just fun. It was just one of my first experiences with something so on hands, if that makes sense. The actual umbilical cord and the actual goo on me and just everything, and having to act things out and go to trainings for water breathing, just so many things, and also having to connect deeply as well. But I also love all the standpipe scenes. I love filming up there because that's when the kids are together. And I also love bike riding. Whenever we were bike riding, it was always fun.
I love it.
Yes, I loved anything we got to film in the school. I loved because we had the best time. It was an abandoned old school, and we just loved exploring it. It was genuinely the most fun thing ever. I just loved all of the scenes with the patty cakes. And I remember there was this one scene at the lunch table. You both are at a different table, and the patty cakes and I are at a different table. And I just remember one of the things I love about Andy is how improvisational he is. And so a lot of that scene was improvised. He saw us on set, the patty cakes and I, we had created this handshake together just for fun, inspired by the movie Grease, because I had just watched it and we all created it together. And he saw us doing it on set and he was like, we're using that. We're gonna put that in the scene. And we did, and it turned out awesome. And it was thrilling to just spontaneously add it to the scene. So I loved that.
Oh, that is super cool. I mean, since all of you have went through the craziness of what the town of Derry has to offer, if there was someone new that was moving to the town, what would be the piece of advice that you would give them to survive?
Leave.
Leave.
Get out. Don't stay here. What are you doing?
It's evil that lives far beneath our wonders here. Seriously.
Yeah. Stay safe. Leave. Don't stay in Derry.
Get out of here.
Or if you really have to stay, find a really good friend. Find a really good friend and make sure that you have people in your life who you trust and who you really connect with. Find your people and keep them close.
Yes.
I mean, you really do kind of have to have a ride or die, because if someone really gonna go to the sewer to try to save you, if they're not gonna do that, then we can't be friends. Oh, you really gotta have a real one.
Literally.
I want to know what are the scenes like, because we see different iterations. You talked about your scare, that we get in episode 2 with the umbilical cord and all of that. But when we finally get to see that manifestation of Pennywise that everyone know and loves to be afraid of, what was that like actually getting to see him in the full costume as you're acting in these scenes?
It was honestly crazy. I mean, I think it's one thing to see it on screen in the first It movies, for example, and then see it in real life. It was insane. There was so much anticipation and excitement and anxiousness leading up to seeing him for the first time. So when we saw him, it was pretty terrifying. I mean, Bill in full costume and makeup, and also the way he endows Pennywise so incredibly, he really brought an fearful energy to set that we all got to feed off of. So, I mean, at least for me, I was kind of just in awe and like super shocked seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, no, definitely agreeing with Clara there because they kept him top secret, but once we got on screen with him, it was definitely one of the most scariest things I've seen, and it was really, really fun to film with him. And he just made the experience so much better as an actor because he basically did all the work for you. And that was one of the most coolest things too because he just gave us the fear that we needed. And I think that's why they kept him so top secret from us. So then we kind of had that true raw reaction of fear and that true connection to Pennywise.
Yes, I agree with Amanda. Like that fear you see, it's 100% real. No acting needed to be done. Bill is, as Pennywise, is absolutely terrifying.
So you guys didn't get to see him until you actually filmed that scene.
Not
No.
really. Like we would occasionally like get a glimpse of him like walking around with his Pennywise head on with like sweatpants on, and we'd be like, "Oh my God."
Like we were little
And
fans.
Yeah, we're like,
yes,
oh my gosh, it's
exactly.
him.
We were little fans, like freaking out whenever we'd get a glimpse of him. But then officially, the first time we saw him, like full everything was,
Really
yeah,
cool.
on set.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy. I mean, when you're doing these scenes, because like I felt so bad, like you guys are getting frightened all the time. Like, how do you like decompress after having to film these really intense and scary scenes?
Um, Definitely sleep for me and just yeah, eating, rejuvenating. And also we would go out and like do stuff as castmates after like filming. We would go out and do dinners, amusement parks, like whatever we could get our hands on with the time that we had because we were there for like almost a year and a half because of the actor strike as well. So, we just did what we could and it was really, really fun.
Yes, I'd say like the way we got through it was each other, like doing fun things to just take our mind off of the scary things. Because really, when I think back on my experience on the show, like the fun, joyful memories far outweigh the scary memories. I mean, there were scary moments, but even those, we found fun ways to do them. And like we were cracking jokes in during terrifying scenes and doing pranks on each other and just giving each other a hard time and just like having fun.
Yeah, we would definitely hang out off set, but even on set, having each other, kind of like Tilly you just said, it made it all the more fun and the more special, and it definitely made filming a little easier with those really intense scenes. And oh my gosh, the amount of times that we could not stop laughing, like seriously, like they would call action and we would just start laughing. Like we really had to focus on being in character. But yeah, it was so much fun to, especially with a group of kids, it was really fun to film all together.
I love that. I mean, if you had to take one thing away from your character, like what would be that one trait that you would want to take with you after this project?
I love that question. For me, it would be Marge's bravery. I love how brave she is, and I love her character arc and the way she finds her bravery and comes into her own and is courageous and such a loyal, true friend. And just yeah, she's really brave and I hope to be that way too.
Yes.
Definitely, for me, for Ronnie, definitely her like determination. She's very determined with everything that she does. Every move that she makes, it's towards a goal or it's towards something that she's wanting, whether that's for her father or saving her friends or keeping the group together or whether that's just saving herself. She's determined to do she has to do to meet that end goal. And I think that's something that I would take with me because I need to stop procrastinating and need some determination.
I'm grown, girl. I still procrastinate. It's okay. We will work on it. How about you, Clara?
Yeah, for Lily, the one thing I would take away is probably her perseverance. I mean, along with all the other characters, she goes through so much, and I think she starts off the show kind of, shy and a little quieter. But I think as the show progresses and as she goes through these horrific things and she bonds with her friends, I think she turns out to be really brave and she faces her fears and I think she perseveres through all of it, which I think is really special. And I also really admire her selflessness. I think one of her main focuses and priorities throughout the show is doing the right thing and helping her friends. And for example, with Ronnie's dad, she really tries to do everything in her power to not let him go off to Shawshank. She feels really bad about that, and with finding all the missing kids, I think her friends are something really important to her. So I try to take that with me in my life of valuing friendships and persevering even when things get hard.
If you had to go back to a moment that was your favorite scene to film, what would you say that scene would be? What was your favorite scene to film for the series?
That's a great question. I would say I would go back to either the cemetery scenes or the empanada scene that I had. Those were one of my favorite scenes to film.
I love it. How about you?
Um, I'll say probably the bicycle scenes or standpipe scene. It was this one, it was this one in particular that I actually really enjoyed. They were talking about, oh, team lifeboat. Are you gonna be a lifeboat
Oh
or
yeah.
something? And then I
Yeah.
ran up the stairs and I said a line. It was really fun. But yeah.
Like a fly got stuck in my throat.
Yeah.
Look, I have to ask, what was that like being able to see Bill in the full Pennywise costume? I know we teased to it throughout the course of the season, but want to know what was that moment like when you got to see him in his full getup and you got to film your scenes?
It was scary and surreal for me. Scary and
Yeah.
surreal. Scary because I mean you see a 6'5" demon clown, you're not gonna be like too fond of that. But surreal because like this is one of the biggest movie franchises ever. Like
Yeah.
not just horror ever. So seeing that and seeing him like the man himself, it was like, dang, this is crazy, you know.
Yeah, for me, like that sewer scene, it was like surprising how good like he did his job, but like also it was terrifying because it was like what Blake said, he's very intimidating. So like yeah, it was crazy.
I was like, I don't know if I would have been able to do it, but I'm gonna live through it all, okay? But I want to know if someone had told you, like, hey, I'm finna move to Derry, all right? What would be the piece of advice that you would give them?
Don't.
Don't
Nah, that's the first time.
somewhere else but Derry.
Yeah. Also, it's weird what dairy does to you. Like they say, the farther you move away, the more you forget. That's so crazy.
I mean, I guess you'll tell them, like, hey, get far, far away. So you ain't even got to worry about what was happening here
Don't go
anymore.
anywhere but there, man.
Yeah. But if there was something, I love that, all of your characters, they have like really cool qualities about them. They ride or die friends, because I would not be going in the sewer playing with nobody over my, okay?
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, after playing these characters, like, what's a trait from your characters that you kind of want to take for yourself? Like, I can use a little bit more of this in my life.
Mm.
I would say like Rich is me. Like I didn't have to like change any of my personality or like anything. Like some of the show writers obviously, gave me some confidence, like everything is gonna be okay. Like this is for this is gonna come out great and stuff. But yeah, just I carry Rich deep in my soul every day. So
I love
Um,
it. He got swag too now. I was like, okay, come on.
for me, I'd say probably Will's book intelligence. I used to read a lot. I don't know why I fell off. I need to pick that hobby back up. But I used to read a lot. Keeper of the Lost Cities was my favorite. Was my and Hidden, by Margaret Peterson Haddix and Shannon Messenger. Those two book series are incredible. I recommend them. But I need to pick that back up. But yeah, that's what I would take from Will. That's one of the things I'll take from Will.
And you can pick it back up. I was just talking to my friend. I got a lot of years on y'all, and we was talking about how we don't read anymore. We used to love to do it. It's hard finding time.
It
We got to
is.
make time for
Yeah.
it.
It's you're right. You're right.
Okay, this year time we're gonna commit to reading a book.
Let's
Okay,
do it. Let's do it.
next 30 days we're gonna read a new book. All right.
Yes, ma'am. Let's do it. Let's get it going.
But I want to know. I mean, I want to know what was that moment like when you found out that you were going to be a part of the series because everyone loves the book. We had the movies. I want to know like what was that feeling that you have when you're like, hey, you're going to be a part of this like phenomenon.
Yeah, it was definitely like a great experience to be a part of this show. Um, Definitely when I found out, I was like excited, but like also kind of nervous because it was like my very first lead role in anything that I worked in. And yeah, I was definitely really excited, for this great opportunity, making friends, meeting Bill, of course, Andy, and all of the background people and all of the show writers were definitely really nice. And it was a great experience meeting all of them.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was thinking about how big the series is. Number one, it's a lot of weight to carry because this already comes with a very large fan base who are expecting things and you're just expected to deliver it. So that's gravity. I feel like we did pretty good though as a cast. I think we made a great show. Um, also, wait, I was gonna say something else. I'll just cut it there, I guess.
I think you guys did an amazing job. Okay, I
Thank
was
you.
into it. Okay,
I
Thank you
but I
so
appreciate
want
much.
it.
if you had to pick a character, okay, like if you had to be like, I'm putting all my money on this person, if I had to pick one person out of the list of characters in this show that you know could survive a night with Pennywise, who would it be and why?
Um, I think uh Dick.
Leroy. Say Leroy.
You think
I would say Dick because like he's like a sidekick and he like can see everything that Pennywise is doing. So I don't know, but Leroy is a good answer as well.
Yeah, I'll say Leroy because he like doesn't really feel fear, and that's what Pennywise feeds off of. So I feel like that's the best option. But if we keeping it real, I don't think anybody's surviving that with Pennywise. That
Yeah.
sounds like a
now
horror.
nobody? Come on now.
Nobody. I can't give it to anybody. I'm sorry.
But if he had to go into, because I like this whole idea of how they utilize fear and how we see that manifest in different ways as we see each of the different characters, like have Pennywise unlock their fears. What would your fear be? Like if Pennywise got into your head, like what's the quickest way for Pennywise to get to you?
My biggest fear is like little bugs. So like if Pennywise were to like attack me in any way, he would like disperse in bugs. So yeah, little bugs.
Pennywise would just have to come as himself because that's always been my biggest fear is Pennywise. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
It would be spiders for me. The bugs, like I just don't do spiders. They just
I
do something to my spirit.
don't
I
too.
don't.
They're terrible.
And you can't use spray on them because they have legs, so they're so tall, so they can't get like you would really have to like
I know.
directly hit them. So I
Like
can't do it.
I live in Alabama, so there's not that many like huge Australian looking spiders. But like if there were one to come in my room and it got like lost, I'm leaving the room. Like you can have the room. The room
It's
isn't
their
that
house.
important to me. Like
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
their house. I'm moving out. Like I don't even know if I would have time to pack. It's yours.
uh,
You got it. You can have it.
foreclosure immediately. Like it's your crib. You got it.
Yeah.
Promise.
Seriously. But if we're selling this, I need y'all to give your best sell pitch. Why do people need to watch Welcome to Derry? Tell me what they getting when they're turning hit and play on that first episode.
Mm.
In the first episode, there's like a ton of plot twists. That's all I gotta say. So,
I'm gonna do it in 3 words. Um, fear, thrill, and excitement.
mm,
Mm.
How do you keep that going, that anticipation, the horror up in the ante every single episode?
Well, that's a great thing about, telling a story as a series. You have more space, you have more time, you have bigger canvas to develop story of our characters and their emotional journeys, which in movies is a little more limiting because of the time of the screen time, right? So that's the probably the reason we did this as a TV show, and yeah, and it gives us time to expand on characters and storylines and put more.
And pour all the sick scares that Andy has in his head, because there's not enough TV show to do that. So, keeps coming.
But I like also too with the story, it kind of gives you like the importance of history and not understanding that, what's happening is a cyclical thing, but it's almost like its inhabitants haven't wanted to learn the history behind the town that they're living in. And I want you to talk about the importance of including that, but also too how sometimes towns or the townspeople can really be complicit in the danger that the community faces.
Or a country. Yes.
Yeah. For us, it was like, a great opportunity to tell the story backwards because we go back into history and it's a little bit of watching what was happening in the 60s. A lot of people know very well what happened in the 60s. A lot of people don't. So it's our way to introducing a little bit of American history and showing the social injustice that the country was going through. A lot of people were victims of segregation and discrimination, racism, and that's why we thought it was important to tell the the story of the Hanlons, and the Hanlons being the ancestors of Mike Hanlon, which is one of the protagonists of the main story of it one. He's the loser that actually stayed in town. Of all the losers, he's the one that stayed in town and did more to find out about what it is and how to try to fight it back. And he eventually summons the losers and bring the monster to its knees eventually.
But I love the focus on that family because it showcases they're not just fighting the supernatural horrors. They're fighting the everyday horrors of what it means just to exist, based on the color of their skin. And I wanted to talk about the importance of balancing that because they're kind of fighting two different battles on two different fronts at the same time.
Well, it's a family that is like from the beginning, that you see the nuances in this family. It's not, Leroy is an airman who believes in the system. Is married to Charlotte. Charlotte does not believe in the system. So immediately from the get-go, you have a family that is sort of like has like two spouses that have like different, very like widely different world views, and they have to cope with that. And on over the course of the story, and through their fight against adversity, they will learn to basically conciliate those differences along with Will.
But I like with the kids because you always think about parents supposed to be watching their kids. There's curfews in place, but no one's really paying attention to I'm like, how are they able to get out the house? Nobody watching to see where their kids are going at night. What is happening?
It's the 60s.
It was too much. If you on curfew, I'm checking the doors. The windows gonna be locked. I'm making sure I'm putting bells on every single door and window. I wish you would try to get up out this house, okay?
Look, I mean, we grew up in the 80s, and there's like, we are old, but there's older people and there's younger people. But in the 80s, we would go like spend the whole day outside, with our friends on their bikes and on our bikes.
No cell phones, no AirTag,
but also no supervision. Also, so I guess it was different times.
It was. We just had the one rule: you had to be back home by the time the street lights came on. If it was dark outside, you came home.
We didn't even have that rule in Argentina.
Y'all was living life, okay? Because if you wasn't home by the time the street lights came on, you was gonna be on punishment, okay? It's gonna be a problem. But I want to talk about like Oh, there's so many good horror moments in it, but I still think that the first episode, because you just really like went for it. I want you to talk about filming the theater scene. I don't want to give anything away, but I really want you to talk about that because it's so good. I loved it so much.
It took um many days to shoot that scene. I would say many days, and we can't give any spoilers because it's a very important scene. But it was, crafted at the highest order, and it's definitely not television. It's film.
And it's a film.
Yes.
It's a cinema. So it's like it's a combination of our love for horror, but also love for movie theaters. And it's only fair that we end up with a big bang on the first episode one at a movie theater, which is it's a temple that means so much to us, and also is used against our characters in such a horrific way.
It was so good. I had to take a break. I had to take a break afterwards. I was just like, wait a minute, this is too much. They went too hard. I didn't know it was gonna be like this. I had to just get readjusted.
I
But
know it's sorry about that. It's unusual, but we knew that we had to create a little bit subversion, uh, because we are telling even though it's different characters, we're in the same world as it, and we needed to create certain subversions, and this at the end of episode one is definitely one of them.
Did you watch episode 2?
I watched the first 5 episodes.
Okay, good. Because episode 2, we're in the cinema again, but a different perspective.
Yes.
So more days.
Yes. But it was worth it. It was worth it because it came out so good. I loved it. But I love this idea that, with the shine, you think about your fears, you think about the fears of a kid, but I like that we really get into the fears of the unknown, of the silence of not talking to our children, how they're dealing with these quiet traumas. I want you to talk about really bringing that into the horror aspect because the bedroom scene, it was a lot, y'all. I was like, do I need to go to therapy? Because if this happened to me, I'm gonna be in trouble.
Yeah, I know. Every kid has its own fear, apart from the collective fears of the era, which is as we discussed, like nuclear and birth defects and radiation and the fear of racism and segregation and violence. Each of the kids has its own like particular fear, and that was a lot of fun to explore. Because it's something that we can relate in one in different at different levels. But it was interesting to dig deep into each character and see what is eating each of the characters.
And also, a very important part for us of the Hanlon family was the difficulty in communication between Mike and Leroy. It wasn't, fluid, and clearly Charlotte was, sorry, Will and Leroy, sorry, Mike is the grandchild. But that was incredibly important because, when there's no communication and that space grows, there's so much more room for tragedy, basically.
And that's why the whole town of Derry in this mess because nobody's communicating. No one's talking about the past. That's the problem right now. We got to talk to each other, okay?
Yes, and not so much to AI. We need to talk to another human.
What was the decision or what was the discussions like? Like, how do we introduce Welcome to Derry with the bang?
We wanted to deliver on audiences' expectations of what an IT TV show would look like and feel like, but at the same time, we wanted to upend those expectations. We wanted audiences to understand that there were no rules here, that there were no characters too precious to be taken from them, and so right from the start, we wanted something that conveyed that. And is this going to air after episode 1? I don't know what else we're allowed to say.
Yeah, we're getting deep into spoiler territory.
You let me know. It's your world. I just live in it. So you tell me.
So I can tell you the part that I think you can only share with audiences after the first episode airs.
Although they can always write spoilers.
Yes, spoiler alert, in big capital letters. The decision to have the most of our young cast killed at the Capitol Theater at the end of episode 1 really grew out of a creative conversation that you and I had. I'd written the pilot. There was a slightly different ending where there's something equally, well, not equally, but still pretty brutal, but our lead characters mostly survived intact. And it was my creative partner, collaborator here, Brad, who said, what if they all, other than, one or two of them, meet their demise at the end of episode 1? And the minute he pitched that, it just felt exactly right, because truly, you don't know where the show is going at that point. No one's safe.
You're telling the audience nobody's safe and strap in because it's going to be a hell of a ride.
I was like, Brad, I wasn't ready. I sat up. I was like, wait a minute.
Yes.
I was like, all the babies gone? What happened? What's going on? And then I think that reminds you, like, okay, this is in the It universe. No one is safe. We don't care about kids. They can get eaten too. It doesn't matter. But
no.
And Stephen King is known for his bold storytelling. So you really can't, you can't go into a Stephen King property thinking, okay, I'm just going to tell the expected here. You have to really, stretch yourself and find the bold way of telling the new story within Stephen King's universe. You have to.
And it is brutal. It is cruel. And we wanted to remind audiences of not just the fun of the scares, but that it is truly a ruthless, savage entity. And in taking away some characters who certainly, as a creator, I'd fallen in love with these kids by the end of that episode. I love Phil. I love Teddy. I love Susie. I don't want to see them go. And so it was painful as a writer to see them meet their end, and hopefully audiences feel that pain too.
I was okay with it. I felt good about it.
He's more ruthless than me.
It was a little girl. I was like, you gonna take her too? You gonna take her from us as well? Brad,
we're gonna take them all, Sharonda. We're gonna take them all.
Poor Susie.
I can't believe you. Okay, why would you do this?
We're not gonna take them all. We're not gonna take them all.
Can I ask, what was the intended ending of the pilot?
Oh, the original?
Yeah.
I think the very first draft had an end where, if I remember correctly, Lily lost her hand. So Lily had her hand bitten off. And that last shot that in the current, obviously the final cut, you see Lily holding the hand of one of her fallen friends. In that episode, in that version, you pan down and Lily was missing her hand and she held up the stump and it went to black. So the movements were there, the beats were sort of there, and then it evolved into the ending that we're obviously super proud of.
So Brad said, take all the kids instead of the hand. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fine. Oh. It worked. It worked. I was upset. I had to go to bed.
But we didn't take all the kids. You still have Ronnie and Lily. They're alive. Yeah.
Yes. We got some of the babies still made it through, and we're happy. Yeah. Thank you, Brad, for not taking all the kids. We appreciate it.
I giveth and I taketh away, Sharonda.
Brad just kept saying that at the end of every episode. Kill everybody.
Just kill everybody.
I said, Brad, it's TV. We got to have some continuity. He didn't care.
I want to know, because we already know who Pennywise is, right? We've already seen the original. We've seen the 2 new installments. I want to know, I love how you kind of tease to this character, right? Because there's other horrors that the characters are facing before they have to fully face, him. I want you to talk about building that anticipation each episode. You feel his presence, but there's still other horrors that the kids are really coming in contact with as well.
Well, we're lucky enough to have 2 movies, before us for audiences to, really understand who Pennywise is and what he does. So even though he doesn't show up in the first couple episodes on screen as the clown, in the back of your mind, these horrible things that are happening to these kids, that he is behind it, that entity is behind it. The clown is not far away. The clown is right there, just in a different form. And even in episode 2, something horrible happens to Ronnie. I won't go into what it is, but it's traumatic and it comes out of a very specific fear that she has about her mom and, her mother's death. you see the clown's eyes inside the entity. So you know it's there, you know it's ever present. And we see terrible, terrible incarnations of that creature throughout the next several episodes, knowing, the clown is present until we spring him on you. So we ratchet up that anticipation to see him by making the terrors specific to the characters and truly terror set pieces. And all credit to Andy for directing that.
Was that your idea too? Because that was actually very a disrespectful thing to do. I was like, I know they are not about to use this fear against her, and you did it. Was that
I didn't do it. It did it.
In episode 2, yeah, that was one of the first things we built in episode 2.
Yeah.
If you remember that was in the mini room.
Yeah.
We were building sort of the bones of the season stories, and that was an early thing we came up with that creeped us out. And we thought, all right, if we're creeped out, that goes in the show.
It's quite a horrific set piece, I'll admit. Yeah.
I was like, I can't believe they did that to her. They just gonna use that against her. Wow.
She's very strong, Sharonda. Ronnie is a very strong girl. She she goes through a lot in the season, and I like to think that Ronnie will be okay.
But I like that you bring that up because I love with with our main family that we're centering on, and given the time period that we're in, there's two different fronts. There's two different horrors that our characters are facing. We have the supernatural, but for some of our Black characters, there's an everyday horror of not knowing what's going to happen, and we see this with Ronnie, we see this with Hank. I want you to talk about actually balancing the supernatural horrors, but also too the everyday horrors, because we are in the 60s right now.
Yep.
Well, I think we were building off of what Stephen King did in the original book. Derry's not just a character in the original book. Derry is, in many ways, itself the monster. Some of the scariest things in Derry are not the different manifestations that it takes. It's the townsfolk of Derry. Without giving too much away about where the season goes, even in the original book, Mike Hanlon has his interlude where he talks about the burning of the Black Spot, which is an African-American speakeasy where sort of the Black airmen from the base would go. That's burned down by the Legion of White Decency in the book. The Legion of White Decency is not a manifestation of it in the Stephen King novel. Those are regular men and women from Derry who go and do the most horrific thing imaginable. And so I think the scariest monsters in Derry are oftentimes the people in that town. And their capacity for cruelty and violence is part of what makes it such a horrifying environment. And we explore that in the show.
I think what it also reminded me of while watching, I talked to my friends about this because we talk about how now that we're older, there's no real sense of community anymore. And you see this with the kids because they have kids that they can go talk to. And, even with Charlotte trying to fight for this boy who's being beaten up, like it really makes you miss the community that we once had. But also, too, in Derry, this community is failing their children. So I want you to talk about like really having those underlying things in the series as well.
Yeah, well, I think that was a big part of the 60s too. The time period that this came in was the feeling that young people have that older people were failing them, that the systems that older people put into place were failing the youth. And that's why you saw such a huge youth movement really for the first time in the 60s that were, a youth movement that was centered around, civil rights, that was centered around, basic freedoms and social causes and all of that stuff. And it's interesting because, as far as we think we've come, you're seeing that stuff again today. It's as relevant today as it ever was. And if Derry is a microcosm of America, and it is, you can't just, go back and look at 1962, which is presented, at least in a production design way, as very beautiful and very pastel colored, and say, hey, that was, that's an idealized time. You have to rip away the mask and strip away the idealism and really look at the rot underneath and ask yourself all the questions that have always been there. And, along with the thrill, and ask yourself, what's the real monster? It comes along every 27 years. It's there for 6 months to 2 years. It feeds on our fears and it eats 17 to 100 children. These real world terrors, they're there with us 24 hours a day, all the time, and they're consuming a lot more than 100 people. So, we ask the question, along the way, we want to give the audience an entertaining ride. We want to give the audience a thrill ride and real scares. But the best entertainment is always thought-provoking, always holds up a mirror, and we try to do that as well.